Yeah, boy. No
What's up?
girl.
What's going on?
What's going on,
It's been a
guys?
second since we are back here.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. Talking design, and we have been. Oh, I should stop my live stream video. um, yeah, we've been busy working on design.
Actual design jobs and design
Yeah,
project. So that's why we kind of missed you guys last week.
yeah, exactly. And so, how you been doing, Joe? How's your day? How's your week treating you?
It's crazy as
Yeah.
usual. Just having so much stuff to edit and so much stuff to think about, and also not to mention we have that design project that is on the go.
Yeah.
So that adds like tons of work on our end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nothing crazy, just your normal editing designer day.
Yeah, tell me about it.
How is your weekend? How is your week going so far?
Weekend was chill. Week has been going like pretty decently. Again, same sort of like just busyness,
Yeah.
Today has been really interesting because I have a design that I've been working on since like last week, and it's like fighting me the entire time, and it's been kind of like driving me nuts, because
that's gonna be hard.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, the idea is there, the execution is there, but then when you actually want to make it work, like in the real world, you start realizing, okay, this won't work. Okay, I got to make some changes to that. All right. If I make these changes, it's going to impact it in this way, and so you keep going back and forth, and like the frustration I'm finding is I'm like kind of getting further and further away from my original concept for style.
Yep.
But I'm where I want to be for like ergonomics, for example. So like the ergonomics are improving, but that's at the cost of style.
Okay.
And
that actually happened a lot on design world.
Yes.
And not only just product design, but also like any kind of design. That kind of stuff can happen all the time.
Well, and you have to end up making decisions about priorities, right? Like, and that's kind of where I've been, where it's like, when you're talking about doing something that's going to be used a fair amount, right? And that's kind of why I titled today's like live stream like developing your design concepts, right? Because the stage that we're at, Joe and I, from like our project that we're working on, and even where I find myself in my own projects, my individual projects, is translating a concept from like your initial thought process, your initial ideas to reality. And
or even like transforming from a research phase of the project to concept.
Right. And that presents a lot of challenges. So you have to sit down and like distill what your original concept was,
Mhm.
and you can see, like for us, it's easier because we're practiced, designers, but it's like you can sometimes see when your concept is starting to get too far away from what your
Right.
initial kind of idea was,
Ideas. Yeah.
you know? And so basically, like, at least for me, for like today's live, what I wanted to kind of convey to all of you guys, by the way, hello, everybody. Maddie, of course, Cole, of
Hello.
course,
Hello.
Crispy, Mind of Milton. Welcome, all you guys. Just wanted to say
Great.
what's up.
Great to see you guys.
And Maddie, Katie better have done such a good impression of me that makes me look so good, Otherwise, I have no desire. But anyways,
Good to see you
so basically, I know like some of you are working on your own design projects. You're coming in here and you want to kind of get some ideas. So like I wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit, for example, about where Joe and I are at with our project without giving away information.
without giving you guys the information yet. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
something that we can talk about publicly yet.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of convey some of the concepts that we deal with, So, one of the things that you have to deal with when you are translating a concept, or coming out of like a research phase, an idea phase, right? Like when you are doing design, you start here. Okay, here, let's do that here. You start here in the I have an idea. Actually, for this, it'll be probably better if I start on this side. Okay. So you start here with I have an idea, right? You may move into a research phase where you're like, okay, has my idea been done before? Or if I'm going to do this idea, what have people done before me? Okay. And that's going to give you a bunch of ideas. And the phase that we're going to be talking about is this one, kind of in the middle. Okay, now I have an idea. How do I put it on paper? Right? Or I have some inferences, some inspiration, some kind of ideas that I want to bring into a concept. So I don't know about where Joe starts, but I tend to start on some level with market because it answers a lot of questions for you, right? Are you high end? Are you mid range? Or are you low end? Right? Let me translate this into what this means in the real world, right? If you're designing, let's say, a logo, high end, you actually may be going for a font with serifs, right? Like something like this. Oh God, it's on tracking on my camera. There we go. Cancel tracking. So you may look at a logo like this. It's a serif font, right? Meaning it has those little ends. It's not like our design logo up there where it's super clean, right? Not to say that can't be high end, but depending on who your market is, you may end up going like there, right?
Yeah.
That tends to look a little bit older. That tends to look a little bit more established. If you're going for more mid-range or kind of upper end, high end, with fonts and logos, you may go this direction. This is called a sans serif.
Yep.
If you're going for low end, you may go with Comic Sans.
Yeah.
right? If we're talking about cars, if you're going high end and if you're going luxury, that means you have basically all the materials in the world available to you except cheap plastic. When you go mid-range, you have all the materials, all the like manufacturing approaches except for the extremely high end, like carbon fibers, like aluminums, and you may do some aluminum, but not a lot, you know. If you go down to low end, plastic and steel, like that's it. And very, very simple like stamping processes. You don't see a car for like 18 grand or less that has the same sort of styling and surfaces that a Ferrari has, you know. Also, your line choice will be different. For example, when you're drawing the thing, if you are more high-end luxurious, they tend to go for straighter lines. But if you're kind of the lower sort of end you get, the more you get sweeping, fast, angled lines and stuff like that, right? In the world of knives, the high end is titanium, zirconium, you know, crazy materials. The low end is FRN and steel. So choosing where you are in a marketplace or understanding where you are in the marketplace defines your materials, defines your approach right from the get-go. It puts you inside a box to start working.
Yeah.
You know, once you know that, because the scariest thing actually when designing is having no limitations.
That's the hardest. That's actually actually the hardest, because that's why for us we tend to give ourselves a limit to work with.
Right.
And that's where you would hear us saying user scenarios, research, design criteria, and so on and so forth. All that is to give us a guideline.
Yes.
And
exactly.
also,
you need to give yourself limitations, believe it or not.
Yeah. So having no limitation, you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. You really can't, because at a point where anything is possible means everything is possible, and you have no boundaries.
And also, like, if you have no limitations, one of the danger is that you will get lost on your design phase.
Right.
Because you will think, oh, this can work, and this looks so cool, that looks so awesome. And ultimately, your design is gonna look everywhere, and your design is gonna look not only looking everywhere, but also feels everywhere. And that kind of just defeat the purpose of your original idea.
Yeah, it does. And so I don't know, Joe, do you start in a different way?
I mean, for us, like, from what we learn and from the project that we have been doing, I started with research as well, but my research doesn't. Well, I start with asking questions of what the clients want, and once they define. Well, I mean, in the beginning they don't know what they want, but of course, you have to give them a guide. Right, you have to give them a guide to let them tell you what they want. And if they want high end, then I will start looking into high end materials and high end design logos and design branding and design and high end colors that represent which color represent high end brand, so on and so forth. But if it's low end, then of course the same process, but transfer it into low end. So
Yeah.
my design process and Sherif's design process is not that different in terms of stages, but what we were looking at can be different, right? So for you, it's a lot more like a lot more marketing research and groundbreaking ideas, groundbreaking technology. And for me, for me, I tend to look at metaphors. I tend to look at colors. I tend to look at different things that represent different ideas and different meaning.
Yeah.
And so and I guess that's why it's good for us to work in the same project, because then we can have all these ideas and research combined to one big project.
Yeah.
So it covers almost every aspect of the design that you need.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And like Joe's right. Like in particular, like for example, color, right? There are colors that you will use, for example, with high end that you would never use with budget, right? You can use bright neon colors, for budget, but you typically, and there are a few exceptions, right? But you typically will not see super bright colors when it comes to high end, right? Now there are exceptions to that.
Yeah, and that exceptions can only work if the brand image is that kind of image.
Yeah, right, exactly. And Lamborghini is perfect example of that, right? Where their brand image, as Joe just pointed out, is high end but also wild.
Yeah.
So they can do and get away with doing something extreme like that. Whereas, Ferrari, you don't see, what the hell? You don't see, super crazy colors, for example, on Ferrari. You definitely would never see super bright colors like you see on a Lamborghini, on a Rolls Royce. So these things are incredibly important to recognize and understand from like early on,
And you have to also think about, okay, you decided to use certain color, let's say neon, and your clients doesn't like neon. He likes certain different color that kind of heading towards the low budget color, but his brand is high end.
Yeah.
So you have to make compromise. You have to make compromise, and you have to make it. You have to be somehow persuasive to him or persuasive to yourself, and see where it goes. Somehow you have to be very honest to yourself.
Yeah, and this is where, especially if you're working with a client, you need to go back and forth and have discussions about what does and doesn't work, right? And if they, let's say, are a Rolls Royce but they want Lamborghini colors, then and they're not willing to budge from that, then you got to figure out the right way to deliver it.
you have to figure out the right way to deliver it in different aspects. First aspect is presentation. Second aspect is retell the story of their brand. And third is if you can find any meaning or any metaphor or any representation of that color that represent the best part of that brand, then you can persuade them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the design process comes in, you know.
Yeah. So,
Now, Maddie had an interesting question. He asked, if you had an infinite budget, what materials would you use to design a car? Truthfully, Maddie, like, you know, if I really wanted to go like crazy, there's actually a brand that's doing that right now. And one of my former mentors actually works there, which is pretty cool. But the company's name is called Zinger, and the creator is doing incredibly fascinating things with 3D printed metals. And I fundamentally think it's the future, you know. So I can show you, for example, some samples of what Zinger's been doing. They make this model, the C21, and the C21 is a two-seater that you sit one in front, one behind the driver, right? The styling is okay. It's not my approach or how I would necessarily do the design, but it's still very cool, incredibly cool kind of stuff. What makes them fascinating is, if you look, a lot of their internal components look very organic, look almost like cellular. You can see that in particular here. Let me actually open this in a new. See how this looks like organic, or almost like inside of a bone?
Yep.
This is called generative design. And essentially you give the computer parameters with which this part needs to have, right? It can be this size, it can be these dimensions, etc., but it needs to deal with this kind of load from this kind of directions. And it actually works to generate these shapes that reduce the part material wise, but increase, like, give you maximal strength for what that part can be. And you can also see some other 3D printed elements here in these heat shields and stuff like that. 3D printing is going to be the future, like rapid manufacturing of parts and objects like this is the future. Like, there's no question about it, you know? Here you can see a little bit more detail of that part right here. Just how strangely organic that is, you know, but that's the future. Like, realistically speaking, this is the future of how things will be manufactured, right? So if I had my way, this is how I would, you know, design a car essentially nowadays, right? Because this is about maximal optimization, elimination of all waste. 3D printing ensures that you're not producing like anything you don't need. So, like, usually with like a CNC process, that's called subtractive manufacturing. You know, you generate a lot of waste, which you then need to recycle and so forth, right? That would be kind of like a whole theme for my brand, would be efficiency and optimization if I had infinite budget, right? And so Zinger is kind of doing that, which to me is really, really exciting. And they're creating this hypercar that just, the performance is absolutely nuts. And then the other approach that I would take would be where Gordon Murray was with the original McLaren F1, right? Original McLaren F1 does not use plastic molded components
Yeah.
at all, because his whole philosophy was that if you create something today, you should be able to find it in a barn, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, and still be able to use available technology to manufacture it and make replacement parts for it. So you can't do that if you have to have a plastic mold, and plastic degrades over time, and things like that, right? So the whole idea would be like a future. I love this concept of a future classic, something that people in the future look back on and say, "Oh, that's dope," like that's impressive. There aren't many products that are manufactured today, even on the high end, that have that ability to be future classics. Realistically speaking, like McLarens a lot of McLarens have large amounts of plastic, even at the $500,000 to $1 million price point.
Yeah.
Ferraris, same thing. Lamborghinis, same thing. Like, to me, the McLaren F1 also represents one of the last things that is 100% pure.
Yeah.
That is, I will say, in a counterpoint, the one downside to generative modeling. You can't really replicate that without the original software solution. But anyways, I'm taking up time on this subject.
No, I think it's a very good resource for talk.
Yeah. So going back to translating your sort of concepts, right? Like, you can observe and see a lot of like things, if you start looking at the world around you. And Joe and I were kind of talking about this, that like, it's good to have a folder of inspiration.
Yeah.
Any
kind of inspiration that inspire you.
Literally. Yeah. I mean, if you guys want to see, for example, let me make sure I don't have anything inappropriate.
That's inspiration.
Yeah. It is. But yeah, like, I have a directory of thousands of images, literally like thousands of images. Here is like mine, right? Yeah. So you can see down here, like, I have images of anything you can imagine. Literally anything you can imagine. Be it high-end like homes, right? And here you can see high-end tends to use straighter lines. Right? Let's pick like a random page, to food and lifestyle stuff. Right? Notice they have the Laguiole folding knife, right? Yeah. To political and social stuff. Like, this image is very striking, but also notice how the diagonal lines interplay. The police signs going diagonally this way, and then the white lines of the street going like cross. That's really good photography right there.
Yeah.
Then pick another one. Really nice product shot of a boutique beer brand, and look at how they did their label.
Yeah.
Right? So literally, I have thousands of images like this. you know? So I can draw on any and all of this stuff as kind of guides, or oh, okay, cool, maybe I can take like this approach or that approach, you know. Oh, that line is kind of interesting, maybe I'll do something like that, or maybe I want to design something that fits in this environment, you know, or has this kind of feel, right?
Yeah.
So really, they're having like a collection of inspiration only serves to help you,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
and give you a visual language with which to draw upon, you know.
And like design, design, I can say design is not linear. You really think about it. I mean, of course, the first part is linear because you go from research to concept. That's linear. But within the research to concept, that thing can go, or if you really map it out in your brain, and if you want to infographic it, that thing, it's kind of messy, and it's gonna be like a web.
Yeah.
So if you really think about it, follow that web, put into your research, then you can come up with something crazy and something inspirational.
Yeah.
Same as inspirational images, and same as design concept. Sometimes design is not just one way or the other. Sometimes you have to go around it. Sometimes you have to go all out and then come back. And sometimes you don't design. Sometimes within the design that you are doing, you don't really design stuff that you are doing. If you get what I mean. But you will go somewhere and then you will come back.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not design is not something that you can have an answer real quick. You just have to keep on doing research, keep on doing inspiration, keep on finding inspiration, and eventually it will come out.
Searching process.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's that back and forth.
It is. And it's a give and take, right? Because like I was, started, talking to Joe about like, okay, I had this design, I have a theme, I have a concept, I have a direction that I want to go in with my design. Like I can picture it clearly.
Yeah.
But then when I started getting into it, the picture started to fade because it's not translating. It's not working.
Because you put in, once you start in the design phase, you starting to think about manufacturing, you start to think about the possibilities of the materials, the shape, the form,
and use.
The workabilities, the usabilities, all that. So
those concepts translate, or those challenges translate. Like, again, for example, let's say you're doing a logo design, right? The logo may look good on paper, may look good on a business card, but what if you have to put that design up on the side of a building? Does it work there? Can the sign makers make your design in the real world?
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect. That's perfectly said.
Yeah. And so, for them, they have certain limitations on what they can do in terms of color, graphics, etc. So all of a sudden now your initial concept, may work in these scenarios, but now you've got to pull it back to, okay, well, if it can't work there, what are those limitations? If I change those and come back to the paper, does it now still work across the board?
Yeah. And right? does now still works as you imagine?
Right. And so this is the push and pull, right? Like, so we talked about, you have to understand the market. Understanding the market directs like materials, directs character, directs lines, directs materials, etc. I think I already said materials, right? But then also, like Joe was saying, affects colors, affects metaphor, usage scenario, all of this stuff. All of this stuff serves to create boundaries. And boundaries are what help good design, believe it or not. Designing without boundaries,
it's difficult.
Creates bad design.
It's hard. It's hard to create something that is boundary, because sometimes, like, even like a lot of times we will tell our clients to give us some limitations.
Yes, 100%.
You tell us what you like and tell us what you don't like and tell us what you want.
Yeah.
And that tend to be the guideline for us to move forward.
Yeah, like here's a good example, right? Let me share this guy again. So here is a design that was done with boundaries, okay? There are a couple of things that are going on here with this design that, immediately tell you a lot about it, okay? It's Hermes. So, Hermes is a high-end luxury brand that has a history in horse riding and leather for saddles and things like that. It's part of their brand qualities, right? So if you know that this thing is immediately going to cost thousands of dollars, right from the get-go, before you even started, if let's say if you're designing for this brand, okay, one, that's part of it. The next part is, because it's for a high-end brand, this thing can't be huge and chunky. Let's say like a G-Shock. So now you already have a historical element to draw on, the horse riding, right? You have a price point kind of guide, and you have a character guide, right? Or like a styling guide, So when the people who designed this, got to work, they said, oh, okay, let's draw on the buckles that are used in horse riding. So that's where this shape language comes from. They have a very simple, small watch face, which is meant to be classy and elegant and refined. Look at even how they designed the hands. They're nice, slim, very clear, easily readable. The numbers are done in a brand style font. So the brand already has like a font or typeface that they use, and this comes directly from that. You have a small functional window for the date, simple crown that just looks like a nice cherry on the cake, and of course they went with crocodile or alligator skin but black, which complements the nice simple black and silver face. Clean, simple, minimal. This is a perfect example of a high-end watch concept executed well. And here's another one, similar, loses a little bit of the brand narrative with the shape, but they kept the square face, which is similar. And in truth, this model is higher end and more expensive. This is more of like their budgetary model in comparison. But again, clean, simple lines, even for the hour markings. Same square face, just a little bit bigger. This is your seconds indication right here, And again, not as jeweled of a crown. So this is meant for their more, I'm coming in and I'm just going to buy a watch that says Hermes to impress people.
Yeah.
And then this is for their real high-end clients.
Yep.
Right? So that you can see a lot of things get decided, very quickly just by understanding your market, your brand, your kind of positioning.
And a lot of big companies, let's just say big companies, has established their own so-called brand guideline.
Mm-hmm.
And those brand guideline is for their own use.
Yeah.
When they design stuff, when they design a product or design a thing or logo that they can use for that brand, to as a guide to get that brand design done. And so for us, if we wanted to rebrand something or redo something for them or for big companies or even for our own brand, it's best for us to use that brand guideline and use that guideline to help us.
Yeah.
And in some ways, say limit us to design something.
Yeah.
And usually that brand guideline, if you want to create your own brand guideline, it's not a one night thing. Usually it takes a long time to establish a brand and establish a strong base foundation for that brand.
Yeah.
And in that brand guideline, it's everything that we just talked about. Everything, literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
Type to from typeface to fonts to the size of the fonts to colors to materials to what else? Images, visual language, and also detailed it to how they use their graphic, how they use their paragraph, how they say certain words, how they deliver messages on paper or on presentation.
Yeah.
All those are in the brand guideline, and all those are just our established brand should be.
And that's how you also know when something's off from that brand, right? Yeah. So let's also give an example. Apple, love them or hate them, brand is
excellent.
Tight.
Excellent.
Like perfect, tight. They never deviate. Everything's on point. Like you look at how their visual language is, to their products, to their packaging, to the fonts that they use. Like Apple's branding is point like a tiger.
Point. Yeah. And believe it or not, they have a book for that. They have a
huge
library for a brand guideline that literally says brand guideline.
Mm-hmm.
For all the designers that got hired or for everybody to follow if they are in that company.
1000%. And it really communicates, like very clearly what they're doing, where they need to go, how to approach something, so on and so forth. Now, when you look, for example, like what I was saying is like you can know and recognize when something is off or something is suddenly different. It becomes very, very evident very, very quickly, right? So another example that actually stirred up a lot of controversy in its day, right, is BMW, right? So if you look at the BMWs from like the 90s and earlier, they were very clean, very simple. This looks like a straight line, but it's not. It's slightly angled, gives you a sense of sportiness for the 3 Series, right? Has this signature kink in the windows, but it was a very sort of straightforward, well-refined car. And this goes back, further in time. You want to see like some of the older generation had that similar sort of straightforward, clean lines, not big departures from what a car is, just very refined and simple. Again, another great example, the 2002.
Yeah.
Again, you start to see that there is a brand language that was very clear and very defined. Then suddenly, almost out of nowhere, and it made everybody lose their damn minds when it came out. I remember actually I almost got into a fight with a doctor
Oh.
over it. But then you have stuff like this that suddenly came out, which is like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Now, for our eyes today, we're used to seeing this.
Yeah.
We're used to associating this with BMW. But when it came out, this thing created a ruckus, like a genuine ruckus. You're like, that's not in keeping with BMW's design language. Are you kidding?
It's not BMW.
Yeah.
At least for the time being.
Yeah, at the time, that thing was a wild departure. And even when you looked, for example, at the 7 Series, this sort of like weird headlight shape, and especially the trunk,
Yeah.
with these lines dipping down and then the trunk kind of protruding out and having these like segmented, broken, almost looking taillights. That was not historical for them on any level. So these things created a big fuss when they actually hit the market, and people were really angry at the time because they said, this does not represent the BMW brand that I know.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? During this time period of this was like the peak of BMW sales.
Oh yeah.
Right? So there is something to be said for doing something and continuing the lineage, evolving it. But there's also something to be said for breaking rules.
And if you look at the current day BMW, even crazier.
Well, they kind of return to being like more simplistic.
Yeah.
But like also somehow uglier, right?
If you look at like 2023 BMW, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so it's a little bit wild. They have some of the old lines, and then some like weird decisions in it as well.
I guess a big part of it is because they have to kind of follow the trend of what current generation markets are doing in order to survive. That's why they have this kind of thing out there.
This thing is horrible. But again, like you can see, for better or worse, it's an evolution of the brand.
But one thing that you can see is from far away, you can still tell it's BMW.
Yeah.
Because of that nose, that 2 holes.
Yeah.
And that thing is, that's what we're talking about. That's what we were talking about. The brand image is that BMW's brand image is that 2 kidney grill.
Yeah. The 2 kidney grills, the Hofmeister kink, as it's called. It actually has a name. The kink in the window, and you'll see every BMW has that kink right there.
And that's their brand image. That's their brand guideline.
Yep. Every single one does. Doesn't matter. Even the 5 or X5 has that little kink, as you can see right there. Yeah, I agree, Patina. They did, and it's not a good mix, you know. But that's how you know. You know when something is off with a brand because they push into directions like, in my opinion, like this thing is fucking horrible. Ugh. I saw the production version of this on the road the other day. This front end made me want to assault the designer. But it's recognizable.
But it's not. It's losing
The brand
BMW's
quality.
the brand quality. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Because we associate BMW as high-end elegancy, luxurious
Yes.
sports
And
car.
they're going away from that.
They are going away from high-end, and that for us is low-budget production vehicle look.
Yeah, like this feels more quality.
Yeah. And speaking of Kia, the brand image of Kia is that lion. It's like the lion grill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every single Kia has it. If you take a closer look, every single Kia has a similar look in the front end. That's their brand. And from far away, even the line is very tiny, very settled, you can still tell.
Yeah. Yes, you can. You see this line, it's done like a visual with these elements, but it's still there, you know, even on their EVs.
Yeah.
And I've always been such a big fan of the Stinger.
One of our friend has it. Used to.
Yeah, used to.
Yeah.
I should have gotten a ride with him and see how it felt, because
it feels nice. It feels powerful and nice, and the interior is top notch.
Yeah, they killed this thing. Like this is such a high end, nice interior.
But again, you can just see like how a brand can associate just by looking at it.
Yeah.
And if you look at, and one more example, Mazda. Mazda's brand image is very visually strong.
Oh yeah, it's iconic actually at this stage. Very clean. They have this like belt line that goes through, nice headlight shapes,
and their grille is from back in Mazda 3 2009. Their grille is a 5-point grille,
but it's also done so like low key compared to other brands.
Yeah, but if you take a closer look, it's always like that.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, this thing especially is just fucking amazing.
And if you take a closer look at the front, it's still that 5-point grille.
Yeah. They unfortunately don't have a front shot of this, but yeah, it's still the same.
You can still see it,
Yeah, man. No, like Mazda's doing really good stuff, actually. Yeah. So there are like brand signature elements, and again, for what you would design for each market, each price point, et cetera, you know, it becomes very clear, actually, very quickly when you start distilling things, you know.
And once you go through that phase, your design will become very clear of what your design will go in the future.
Yeah,
it's like you see the past. You see, okay, this is the criteria that I meet. This is the design guidelines that I have identified.
Mm-hmm.
This is the design. This is the challenge and solution that I have been solved. Then that design will slowly came into shape, and then you get to the point where you see, okay, it's done. Then you will know it's done because you can't do better than that, and then you know it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I could tell you guys, for example, who know me from, the knife world, like, I think a lot about the environment and the sort of like usage case, or like where I want this thing to be used, So, like, when I designed the Grazioso, actually, I envisioned that thing to be in a cigar lounge, actually, because I love smoking cigars. At the time, I hadn't done it in a while, and it's something that I wanted to reconnect with, which I have, as you guys have seen from my posts, and I wanted that thing to be the sort of like ultimate gentleman's companion. If you think about men from, let's say, like the 30s and 40s, a lot of men used to actually carry a knife. They used to have a good knife, a pen and a notebook, nice polished shoes, a suit. It was part of the daily carry for men. Pocket watch, something like that. And I wanted something that would be in the modern man's sort of collection of items, and that set the mood, that set the tone for me. I wanted a person to feel like they had the customer, like they had a piece of that world in their hand, and so the feel of it had to have those qualities. It wasn't just for the sake of the design, right? When you think about like my kimono, the kimono was inspired by a different set of conditions, was meant to be more of a hard everyday user, something that you could rely on and could use in a range of situations, from opening up packages, defensive if you need it to be, and give you the sensation of having something substantial in your hands that is a tool that you can use, and so each of these things are guided. Your design, whatever it is, I feel benefits from you envisioning and designing to that kind of goal, right? Who do you see using your thing? If it's a brand like Joe and I, we're working on logo design. Okay, well, envision this thing being on, packaging. What's the impression that you want people to get, right? Like, this is why you see me nail some companies on packaging from time to time, right? This was the packaging that a $30 pen came in. Look at that. Gold leafed,
Very
nice, clean,
very elegant,
very simple,
very luxurious feel.
Yeah, this thing made me feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
Even though the interior is a simple piece of like molded plastic, but it's also got that soft touch coating. So they went for something that was affordable, but also still feels high end. They could have gone with that cheap glossy plastic, but they didn't. They spent the extra 10 cents a unit to put this nice, felt like fabric inside, So this affordable thing that I got now makes me feel high end. Right? So, and by the way, that's the pen. Very clean, very simple, very minimal, very affordable. Writes better than a lot of your $100 titanium pens. You know, but it feels, again, luxurious. It feels high quality, even though it's at a budget price. You
And
know?
you might ask, how can I get myself into that situation where I can feel quality, I can feel luxurious, I can feel high end? It's our experience. It's, believe it or not, a lot of them is life experience.
Yeah.
Experience different things, and you experience different situations, and you experience different occasions.
Yeah.
And all those can be inspiration as well. As a designers, you have to put that into your library.
Yeah, it's funny because like back when we were in school, I was obsessed with this idea that even if you were shopping at Walmart, you could put a high-end look together
Oh yeah,
very easily. You could go and buy, let's say, like $10 jeans, right? You take them to like a seamstress, get them hemmed so they're not baggy and they're not like loose fitting, whatever. Spend $10, you spent $20 on jeans, right? Get a nice white like undershirt, take that, cut that into your pants, get a like a $5-10 belt also while you're there. Maybe throw on a nice button-down flannel on top of that, you know, and throw on your work boots.
yeah.
Now you look like a hipster who spent, you know,
$100 million.
$1,000 on the same stuff, right? And
It's all
you're out the door for
yeah.
maybe like a $40 outfit. You know what I mean?
It's all experience, and it's all life experience.
It is, you know. Like
Encounter.
it's fascinating, but you can do stuff like that, you know? Like you don't have to spend a lot of money to also be high end. That's a misconception, you know.
Yep.
I'm actually trying to see if I can find an example, but a lot of stuff has to do with fit, you know. Like yeah, you can replicate a lot of this stuff very easily, you know. Again, look at guys like look at the Grazioso. If you have the lines, if you have the sort of proportions and all of that stuff right, you can do a brass and micarta version for $80, and it feels high quality.
Yeah.
It feels high end, and a lot of people commented that they prefer the brass and micarta over the carbon and titanium. You know, so it's making decisions like that, you know, where you can, if you have the right design, you have the right look, the right
If
feel.
you and also if you have a right guideline,
Yeah,
then
it's
those
100%.
are possible. Those things are possible to recreate.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find a good image of like a hipster from my inspiration directory, but yeah, like it's really amazing, you know, like you can make, you know, you can do expensive things for
Cheap price.
yeah, it doesn't have to be
It doesn't always have to be.
crazy,
Yeah.
you know. Mm. Are these I can't remember if these are my legs. I think they may be, actually. Yeah, no, this is in my apartment. Yeah, case in point,
There
right?
you go.
High-end looking photo, you know. These are some no-name brand jeans. I got nice dark color, rolled the ankles. I wore some no-show socks. These are some no-name brand dress shoes, that I got for like school presentations and professional presentations, you know. And right in the background, those are some IKEA shelves. This is an IKEA ottoman, very cheap, all of this together, this entire image, all budget stuff, but gives you the impression of being very high end,
Yeah.
So that kind of like shows my point,
Anything is possible within the design world. It's just if you put in the heart and really looking into details and looking into what is possible and what is out of the window.
Yeah, women have it much harder, I will say, though, when it comes to trying to look high end on a budget.
But it's still doable.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, dude, I love my inspiration directory. It's so good. And it really like stuff when you're translating a design from your initial ideas, having to like a real concept, having just good imagery, stuff that makes you feel a certain way, really
stuff that makes you goosebump.
Yeah. Like, I mean, look at this, for example, again, not a dissimilar shot from the one that I took, but you see similar themes, nice dark wash jeans, rolled cuff, nice dress shoes in this same tone. His are worn in and used a bit more than mine were at the time, but you get the feel. It's similar, he's not wearing socks, which how you don't wear socks with leather shoes is crazy to me. Like, that's just a, guarantee that your feet are going to stink kind of thing. And they're going to feel slimy if your feet sweat at all.
Yep.
But
no.
But I guarantee you, he probably spent way more than I did on all of these things, to get this sort of like sexy shot, So just interesting, when you think about it, like you can achieve a lot with a little. Don't feel you have to be restricted, always too,
And that could say to design as well, like you don't have to spend crazy amount of efforts, or you kind of have to spend a lot of efforts, but you can still get high-end look with a budget offer.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of design, right? Like you are in control of those elements, you are in control of making those decisions, so you really, the more you kind of take control of them, the better off you're going to be, and the more you can kind of achieve what you're looking for, again, just reiterating, this kind of stuff, right? Dark wash jeans, dress shoes, and a work bag. A lot of you guys know bags like this, tool bag, You can get these things for stupid cheap. You don't need to spend $1,000 on one of these canvas and leather bags, you know, and you can have the same feel. I mean, the guy is wearing a denim jacket. You can get those from Levi's or even Wrangler. They're very affordable. I have a few, you know. He's got a white shirt, belt, you know. Achievable looks and feels, you know. So, like, it goes from everything from like fashion to products to logos to branding. It's all doable. It's just you need to make the decisions when you translate your ideas.
And if you take a closer look around you,
yeah,
design is everywhere.
yeah, absolutely. You know,
and a lot of times the inspiration just right in your fingertip. You just have to
exactly.
For it. Yeah.
Exactly. Night, Crispy Critter. Good night. Yeah, man. So, but the thing is, it all, again, you define it from the very beginning, you know? I want this look and feel. I want this sort of approach. I want this sort of style.
I feel like most important things for designers is not really your design skill. Of course, design skill is very important, and your research skill is very important as well. But observation skill needs to be top notch.
True.
And if you are good in observations, then you can find out a lot of interesting things and a lot of interesting ideas.
Yeah.
Put it into your design and to come up with crazy shape, crazy concepts.
Yeah, 100%. I'll show you guys again another example. Different stuff, right? But here's a modern gentleman's carry.
Yeah.
Very clear, but there is a very clear theme also.
Yeah.
Clear theme of this nice leather tone here. Oh, I'm moving my cursor on the StreamYard. There's this nice repetition of this nice brown tone. You're getting the polished either steel or titanium from the watch, the Panerai here, to the pen, to the slip joint, to this look, to this harmonica, you know, and each piece generally complements the other. So just by looking at this, I got inspired. I said, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen somebody do a slip joint in a polished titanium finish. That would feel incredibly like high end and feel like really special if you did something like that. And this is a whole look. This is a whole vibe, you know, and communicates like, oh yeah, this is a high end setup. This is really nice and really refined. So I pulled out this image, you know, so that I can look at doing something like this in the future, you know? So it's, you know, that I'm not going to copy the shape by any means. That's not my style. But this handle, you know, oh, well, I can't highlight it, but this handle finish, really nice. Really inspiring, and to complement and go with these finishes, it's like, oh, okay, I can do something like that. Cheeto, this is part of my directory of inspiration where I have collected random imagery. And just by looking at the imagery here, you get a lot of different inspiration for vibes and themes that you want to do, You know, like that shot of that Lamborghini goes well with this dude.
Yeah.
You know, gives you a similar sort of vibe and
Lifestyle.
feel, you
Vibe.
know,
Yeah.
or even this shot of this BMW scraping, you know, like, and it can go even with this, you know, just the black Chanel, you know, minimalistic, clean, you know. But notice the guy is wearing like black sneakers with a black suit, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then those could be like the glasses, you know. So this is why I mention images, like collect images, collect inspiration. I'm looking at you, Cole. You know, like having these go together really like can put you in a mood, can give you some design direction, inspiration,
Yeah.
you know, for things that you want to bring to your designs, you know. So, and I know like you guys would be like, oh, look at the women, you know, that I have, but some of those shots are not just for being tantalizing, you know, there are shapes there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
There-
a lot of times, like in school, we tend to draw women.
Mhm.
And there's a reason why. Because they have a good shape.
Yeah,
Good body.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. So you can, it's stuff translates, you know. Like, what is a product you would design to look in place here? You know, whatever the product is. Maybe it's engraved. You know, let's say you were doing a new Zippo, right? That thing better have detail out the wazoo to fit in an environment like this. You know, look at how fine all of this stuff is.
Or even fashion design.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So really, okay, another thing, completely different. Super minimal, super deconstructed lighting. Where would this go well? If you were, again, going to design a product that fits in this environment, where
Or
you would
design-
see this light.
Or design a space just for this light.
Yeah. What would you do? How would you do it differently? Right? And who is the market? Who is the customer? Who is, like, these are ways that you translate your idea to reality.
And these are every single thing that we're talking about here is what we think about every single day.
Yeah, quite
Encounter
literally.
design. When we encounter projects.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect example. You can have this look for cheap.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest part would be to get this shawl collar cardigan, but
I'm pretty sure you can find something similar.
yeah, exactly. You can absolutely find something similar. But yeah, I mean, really, like, I can't think of anything more to say, but look at things and see how they are going to give you new ideas.
And also, like, look at your design in a different way.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised what you can find.
Oof.
Look at things differently, in different perspective. And look at things different. If you notice, like, a lot of photographers, they don't take photos in a normal, angle.
Yeah. Look at this. I mean, this shot.
Yeah, they take photos in a weird and unnormal, like, unhuman angle. That's where you get interesting ideas and interesting shots and interesting
Yeah.
concepts. And for us, design is the same. You have to look it into different perspective.
Just a quick joke. Modern day ATF.
But yeah, you guys get the idea. Like,
Yeah.
it's design is everywhere and look at things differently.
It does. And Strive, like, you can tell a story. Like, this image tells a whole story.
Oh yeah.
Very clearly, and it's such a, like, so well photographed, so well framed, and it tells you everything you need to know in that image, in that moment. God, I wish that I could take photos like this more often. Like, it's so like impactful, Yeah, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Super cool,
Yeah. It's like light growing from the tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can leave it there. America. America.
Yeah, that's about what we wanted to share with you guys today.
Yeah.
Is that design? How do you translate your design ideas to design concept?
Absolutely. Absolument. It's not difficult and difficult all at the same time.
Yeah. It's not hard, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's something that you need to, you put love and feeling and obsession into it. You have to be willing to find your path, because the pathway forward is not super defined, right? Like, you need to engage with the exploration,
And you need to constantly ask yourself, what's your origin?
Yeah.
In order to move forward, because you might lose your directions in the process.
Yeah, and it's important to constantly check yourself, see where you're going, make sure you're keeping the direction, keeping the feel that you want to keep, but when you do and everything kind of falls into place, you really you realize and have something of value. I do have one more thing to say. Like, you guys will I appreciate all of you, for example, when I ask you guys for feedback, and this is something I was talking about with Maddie recently, the dangers and advantages to feedback, right? Like, when you start exploring your directions, your natural inclination will be to get feedback, right? You want to know, you want that reassurance that you are kind of heading in the right direction.
Yep.
Right? But you also need to learn to filter out good feedback and bad feedback. And what I mean by this is, like, you started with a vision. You want to find out whether or not you're keeping on that vision.
Yeah.
Right? Not to know that you're doing something that people want. And there's a big difference there, right? Like, yes, of course, everybody wants to create something that people like and is desirable to people. But I think what's more important is finding out whether or not you're actually heading on a pathway that is in line with what you're trying to achieve, right? So if you feel like you've achieved that, then that's good. You know, that's the kind of response you want to get, you know, or what you want to like kind of seek out from people. There will be a lot of people who give you editorials, you know, like, oh, well, that's not really my taste, or that's not really my style. That's I hate to say it, but almost like useless feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not designing for that individual. You're not trying to, like, unless you're designing for a client, right? If you're designing a product for the masses, there will always be a section of the masses that like and have a similar style to you. That's why we have so many different brands out there, right?
Yeah.
You have Coke, you have Pepsi. You have RC Cola, you have Faygo, right? Like, everyone's got a different mix on the same concept, right? So having something that fits one or like a small group of people's sense of style or taste, that who cares on some level.
Yeah.
What's more important is, are you achieving your goals with that design, right? And if you are, awesome, you know, then you're on the right path, you know. And that's where people also sometimes get lost in translating their ideas, right? And even if you're designing for a client, for example, you have to get the approval of the person that hired you.
Yeah.
But you don't need to get the approval of their assistant.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to get their approval of their head of HR.
Yeah.
Like, who cares what the head of HR thinks?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, their job is not to direct and have anything to do with brand. Like, so again, there's people whose feedback you want and not. There's certain types of feedback that is beneficial to you and feedback that is not beneficial to you, you know? And for those of you who are going down the pathway of designing products and trying to get out ideas into the world, learning how to filter that stuff is really important. Now, one side I will mention, and it's rare, but it still exists, is some people will intentionally give you bad feedback in order to derail you.
Yeah.
And that's also why you need to learn how to filter.
Yeah. Some people will intentionally say your stuff is bad.
Yeah.
To say your stuff is bad.
Or they'll tell you your stuff is good and going in the right direction when it's not.
It's not, yeah.
You know?
So you have to kind of filter out what's useful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is, like, again, it's rare, but we saw it, for example. Scratch an itch. We saw it in our art program.
Yeah,
you
all
know?
the time. Actually,
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Granted, that was a competitive environment, you know, but it's true. It's very true. So it's one of those things that you need to be cognizant of, right? Like you need to be your own feedback machine, you know? And does it pass your own approval? If it does, awesome. That's really what you want, because you're staying true to yourself and your values, and you're not always going to make you're definitely not going to always make everybody happy. You're just not. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you engage with that reality, the happier you'll be, because you'll have the freedom of just doing things right.
Yeah.
You know so yeah, don't feel like you have to get things right for a certain audience, is what I'm trying to say, or get the approval. Like I hear the feedback from, for example, people in the community, and sometimes you guys will see me say, like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Or I may disregard it completely, but it's because I know where I want to go, what I want to achieve, and the feedback is for where I'm trying to go, what I'm trying to achieve is quite frankly not on point or useless, So it's a hard balance, but it's a worthwhile one to achieve. And I think, yeah, like Lauren's saying, it's words to live by. It's not just in design, like in life, actually, we're all trying to figure things out. None of us knows the answers to any of this shit, realistically speaking. And a lot of people try to get the approval of others for validation that they're making the right life choices, and that's a surefire way to get lost. You have to develop that self-assurance internally that, like, am I a good person? Yes, I am. Am I trying to do the best I can every single day with the information that I have available to me? Yes, I am. Am I striving to be better today than I was yesterday? Yes, I am. All right. Fuck the haters. So anyways, rant over. I said my piece, but hopefully it was today's discussion was useful to you guys.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully they understand what we were talking about.
You can only do so much.
Yep.
All right. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys had enjoyed this one. And you guys are enjoying the process of kind of going down the road of discovery and headaches that design can be.
It's a lot of headache, but it's a lot of fun at the same time, because once you figure it out, everything that what's in your mind, and once you figure out what client wants, then, like you guys were saying, let the design flow, let the design talk to himself. That's this part.
Yeah.
And I always say the best presentation is not to present.
Yeah.
It's to let them see your design and then they get it right away. That's this part.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Very true. Alrighty, fellas, we are going to peace out. We hope you had a wonderful time with us. And we will be back next Wednesday, same bat hour. What was it? Same bat time, same bat channel. That's what it was. But yeah, we'll kind of keep things going, keep things moving,
And we have some plan in the future. Let's just keep it that way.
Yeah.
On the channel.
Yeah, we may have you guys join us on a different channel, still Object Passion, but it will be object passion, not object passion design. So we'll keep you guys posted, and we're kind of planning some stuff for this brand, you know,
like actual brand.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Alrighty, fellas. We appreciate you. We love you. We hope you have a good night. And quick predictions for Vegas, real quick. Joe?
I don't know, man. To be honest, the only reason why I wanted to watch Vegas is because it's Vegas. I want to see how the track goes and how everybody's. It's like a show for me.
Yeah.
And I think they say it might rain on Saturday, so it will be.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I don't know, man.
That if it rains is gonna be.
It's gonna be red flag.
It's gonna be horrible, yeah, for the event.
Because it's gonna be super cold, and you know how it is. Cold is not good for F1 car.
Dude,
as far as the tire goes.
The more I've been seeing of it, like, the more I kind of think this thing is gonna be a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Who knows? Maybe it will turn out really good. We don't know, but
yeah, I think like in terms of grid, you know, Verstappen P1.
That's no question.
You know, without a doubt. I think Perez could be P2.
Maybe Lando.
He doesn't grenade the car. Lando could be also in contention for P2.
Yeah.
Maybe Hamilton in the mix.
Yeah. But the only reason why I'm counting Mercedes out is because this track is fast, and driving down the strip, it can I hear they say it can easily reach to 240 kilometers an hour or something.
Yeah.
And Mercedes car is not that fast.
Well, in a low downforce setup.
Yeah.
Like if they actually make it into a proper like high downforce setup.
And I think this track is for speed. Don't do that Brazil thing again. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that will be the issue for Mercedes. But if anybody can kind of get around that, it'd be Hamilton.
Yeah.
Definitely not Russell.
Yeah, because Hamilton has his magic, just like Alonso has.
Yeah. I was about to say Alonso could also be potentially in contention there.
Yeah. Because they are the most experienced drivers on the grid right now.
Yeah.
As far as race win goes.
So I don't know though. I hear a lot of bad things coming out of Las Vegas though, of like the locals are really upset. Ticket prices have dropped like crazy.
Yeah.
Hey,
maybe now is a good time for us to look for tickets.
Yeah, with like what 2 days
like
to go.
Yeah, with like $3,000 per ticket. Stupid, crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean they were the whole ticket prices to begin with were stupidity. If I'm 100% honest,
like those are not the right way to market your race in the United States, because if you want to get new viewers in the United States, you need to put that price down, and then don't let the hotels driving that price up.
Yeah, well, we talked about this though. It wasn't just the hotels; it was the Formula One organization.
Yeah, like both of them want to get the price up and then get the high bid.
Yeah, which is so funny, man. Like I saw. There we go. I don't know if you guys no Manny Koshman or Koshman, however you pronounce it. I'm really bad with Armenian names, but he is a like collector of really like high-end cars. He's got a YouTube channel, and he got like the whole 3-day exclusive like F1 pass, the paddocks, like all of that stuff, right? I'm willing to bet he dropped like he did the whole like 300 grand package, you know? And to find out now that like ticket prices are dropping like crazy, it's like, dude, that's got to feel like such an insult if you spend money.
Or he might even get the ticket for free because
like
Formula One just give it to them.
No, he spent the money. He said he spent the money. He was like, "You guys don't want to know how much money I spent on this like ticket package."
Okay, that's fair.
You know, but it was like, dude, imagine spending that money only to like basically have the race like drop to nothing prices, you know? Yeah, that it's just kind of like bad business all around right now.
It's very bad.
This GP.
Yeah, the business model is really bad for Las Vegas right now.
Yeah.
For Formula One, Sky Sports, Formula One, and all the like Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, we're still gonna watch the race. It's just gonna be 10 o'clock for us on Saturday.
Yeah. It's gonna, and I think it could potentially be carnage on the track. Honestly, just because if it's rainy, even if it's like moist in the air, with the low temperatures, the tire's not able to get up to like heat
temperature. Yeah,
you know, like it's.
And I don't know why they pick that time of hour, 10 o'clock at night in Las Vegas, and the qualifying is at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock midnight.
Yeah,
it's like why?
Yeah, I don't know. I do know. The reason why is because they wanted to capitalize on the lights.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas, they wanted to make it dazzling and pretty and all of this stuff.
Like Sin City style.
Yeah, like it's going to be.
But they can do it earlier, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, work.
Yeah. But dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be like, if it's not, I'll genuinely be surprised. But I'm expecting carnage on the track, like.
And not to mention the track evolution. The track evolution is gonna be so bad because it's brand new.
Yeah. I mean, like Patino is saying, like. There's no material out on the track. There's no rubber, no nothing, like it's it's not going to be good. Like genuinely.
We will just have to wait and see how he goes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited, but I'm not, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like part of me is kind of like, I don't really care. But another part of me is like, there will be blood.
And the other part of me is like, yeah, it's Vegas, I'll watch it. I would just want to see how the whole show turns out.
Yeah. Like, there's definitely going to be, regardless, the result is going to be interesting, like how they pull this off. It'll be a show. That's really all I can say, like, for certain. It'll be a show. Good show or a bad show, it'll be a show. Alrighty, guys. We're going to let you go. We're going to peace out. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good night, you guys.
Deuces.